watching and making the banana bread as much as I enjoyed making the video for you. Today I will be making jalapeno cheddar cheese bread, and here are the ingredients that we will need to do that. First off, we'll start with all-purpose white flour, baking powder, table salt, baking soda. I'm using Black Diamond Old Cheddar Cheese. I have 2 jalapeno peppers, buttermilk, olive oil, and 1 egg. Next, I will show you the items that you will need for this recipe. Okay, so once we have all our ingredients out, we're gonna get our items that we're gonna need to measure and cut and put our bread together. So I have measuring cups here, measuring spoons. Then this is going to be the container that I'm going to be using for the actual finished bread. And it's just a Pyrex dish that is, I believe, 7 by 12. If you have a loaf pan like the ones that I showed you with the banana bread, then you can use that as well. It'll just probably take a little bit more time in cooking because you want to make sure that it actually gets fully cooked. Then we're gonna have our cutting board, a knife. We're gonna have some gloves if you have them to cut up our jalapeno peppers, and I'll show you how we're gonna de-seed and cut the peppers. We're gonna have our grater for the cheddar cheese, and then I'm gonna be dumping all my dry ingredients into the mixing bowl. That way it'll be done, and then my wet ingredients will only be in the measuring cups. That way, less mess, less bowls. Okay, and then we're gonna move on to showing you how we're gonna prep the container for the bread and how to prep the jalapeno peppers. Okay, so I've measured out all the ingredients. So for the all-purpose flour, we're gonna do 2 cups. Then for the baking powder, we're gonna do 2 teaspoons that I have right here. Then for the salt, it's gonna be 3/4 teaspoon. So what you would do is you would take your 1/4 teaspoon and do that 3 times so that you have the salt. For baking soda is just 1 half teaspoon, which is right there. Then for the cheddar cheese, I had a 200-gram block of cheddar cheese, so I grated that all up. There is a little extra, maybe 2.5 cups. Recipe calls for 2 cups, but I like mine a little cheesy, and I have the whole block, so I might as well use the whole block. It's up to you, but that's what I did. And then we're going to cut up our jalapenos, and I'll show you how to do that next. Then we have 1 cup of buttermilk, just right up to there. You just pour it in, then you can put your buttermilk in the fridge. Remove my container. Then for vegetable oil, it's 1 tablespoon of oil, plus we're gonna use the oil for the pan. And then 1 lonely egg. So for the pan that we're gonna use, which is our 7 by 12 Pyrex dish, we're going to prepare that. So the way we're going to prepare it for today is a little different than how we did with the banana bread, where we did the vegetable spray and then we floured. This one, we're just going to put a little bit of the vegetable oil, maybe a teaspoon and a half of vegetable oil. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take some paper toweling, and we're just going to put it all around the whole pan. That way it's nice and greasy. And that is how we're going to set up our pan. So there, it's all nice and greased and ready to go. So you gotta make sure that when you're ready to do your ingredients and all your measuring, you wash your hands. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut up our jalapeno peppers. So to do this, I forgot one important little tool, and that will be our spoon for de-seeding our jalapenos. So because jalapenos are a spicy pepper, I have gloves here that I'm going to put on, because after, we don't want to be touching our face after doing the peppers, because we can burn ourselves with the juice that comes out of the pepper. So I'm going to use the biggest one, which is this one, and I'm going to cut that one up because I think that'll be just enough jalapenos for today. It calls for 1 cup, but because I'm using the fresh, I'll probably stick with just doing the 1 pepper for now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut off the tip, and then we're going to cut it lengthwise. If you're unable to do this, then you can get your mom, dad, your brother, or your sister to help you with it. So next, we'll take our spoon, and we're just gonna get all that white stuff and the seeds out. So what you can do is you can scrape it as best as you can. If that doesn't want to work, then what you can do is you can use your thumb and you can pull away, and we'll put it with the top, right? Sometimes the spoon works, sometimes it doesn't. So I think it'd just be better if we just use our hands. Just being careful that you don't get sprayed with the juice that comes from the pepper. Do the second one. Okay. Just like that. Seeds will go flying. That's okay. We'll clean that up later, just before we start. So there we have our 2 halves plain. And next we're going to cut them into small pieces. So we're going to cut them into really thin strips, which are called julienne. And we're going to do that like so. So we get to the end, and then we'll put that to the side. We're going to do it again with this half into thin strips, julienne strips, making sure that we don't get our fingers. Like so. And then you can either grab both, or we'll just do one bunch together, and you're just gonna make small little pieces. So it'd be like a fine dice or a mince that we're gonna make. So we just want small little pieces for the bread. So you get small little bites of it in each slice that you cut of the bread. Okay, so the next, I'm going to do that again. And if you're using the jarred jalapenos, same thing. You would take so much out. It calls for a cup or 4 ounces. So I would do whatever you feel. If you like it spicy, then do the full cup. If you don't, just do, however spicy you want to. If you don't want to, put the pepper, that's okay. You can add maybe some garlic powder or fresh garlic and make it a garlic cheddar cheese loaf. Whatever you feel like. If you just want to keep it cheddar cheese, then you can just keep it plain. It's up to you. So then that's our jalapenos. So then you would, to get rid of your gloves, you would just grab the end of the glove and you would pull it forward, grabbing it in one hand, and then with your clean hand, you grab the end of the next glove and then pull the other glove in. That way you're not touching anything, and then it goes into the garbage. So next I will show you how we're gonna put it all together. So now we're gonna combine our ingredients. So here with our 2 cups of flour, we're gonna add our 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We're gonna add our 3/4 tablespoons of salt and our 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Now these are used as leaveners and to make the bread rise. So then I'm gonna take a fork, and just like the banana bread, we're just gonna put it into the flour, mix it in, so that it's all incorporated, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and we're going to put it into our bowl, like so. And then from there, we're going to add our cheddar cheese. Right into there. I'm gonna make sure I get all the cheddar cheese out, like so. One more. Just grab it, put it in, and then I'm gonna grab our chilies that we cut up, and that's gonna go into the bowl. Stand you up. Hopefully you can see. Right. Put that in there. Like so. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to, with a fork, like we did with the baking soda, baking powder, and salt, we're going to get all our cheese and our chilies mixed up together, and like so. Okay, you can't see, that's what I've done. Got it all mixed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to my stand mixer. If you don't have a stand mixer, then you can just use your spatula for this. But I just want to make it go a little bit quicker, so I'm going to use my stand mixer, and I have it with the paddle attachment. So I'm going to attach that together and lock it into place. Then I'm going to put the paddle down. Just going to give it a quick little mix. Right? Like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add all our wet ingredients. So let me move that measuring cup out of the way. We're going to add our buttermilk, our oil, and our 1 egg to make our bread. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to add the buttermilk, like so. Get as much of it inside, and then we're gonna add our 1 tablespoon of oil, and it goes. And these little cups you can find probably at the dollar store or the grocery store, hanging on the aisle ends. I lucked out and got 2 packages at a Fortino's, but you can try anywhere if you can. If not, if you know of a small little restaurant that gives sauces or dips in these cups, can always maybe try to ask them if they have a couple that they can spare, because they're pretty handy to have for little measuring stuff anywhere. And then we're finally going to put in our egg, and everything's all in there. So ready for the fun stuff. We're going to turn on the mixer and we're going to just let that mix. But you don't want to over mix it. You just want it until it becomes completely wet, not so dry. It's going to be lumpy, but that's okay because it'll do its magic once it's in the oven. And I'll show you when we put it into our container. Okay, so now I'm going to take it out of the stand mixer. So we're just going to clean up the paddle. Get all the bread mixture off of it. Then you want to take that off. If you need help, if you do have a stand mixer, get help from your parents or whoever is there with you to help you with this part, because it can be a little tricky. So then we're going to take it off, and we're just going to scrape down the sides of the bowl to get everything together and mixed up as best as we can, because there is still just a little bit at the bottom of still flour. So we're just going to do that. Okay, so now that I got all my flour together and it's all mixed and ready to go, use my finger, clean off the spatula. We're gonna put this into our little Pyrex dish, and we're just going to give it a little mush down, just so that it fits the pan, and it'll help with the actual baking. Like anything, the more even it is, the more even you're cooking. And then it's ready for the oven. Okay, there you go. So that's what it will look like before we put it into the oven. And then what we're gonna do is you're gonna preheat your oven to 350. And then this is gonna cook for 40 to 45 minutes. And then we'll take it out and we'll see what our end result is. Okay guys, so my oven just went off. So I'm gonna take out our cheddar cheese and jalapeno bread. So I'm gonna use my kitchen towel and grab the bread and put it on the stove here for you to see and to cool down. So we're gonna check our bread right now. I'm gonna turn on the light, hopefully, so everybody can see that lovely bread. So we're gonna take the toothpick and we're gonna go to the center of the bread. I'm gonna pull that out, and if it comes out with nothing on it, then our bread is pretty much cooked. And if you just touch it and it springs back up, it pretty much tells you that it's pretty much cooked. So if you touched it and it stayed down and it dented where you touched it, then it would probably need a couple more minutes of cooking. So our bread is done. We're gonna leave it on the stove here to cool down for 20 minutes, and then you can easily take a tray and pop it out of the container. I hope you enjoyed making this bread, and can't wait for the next video. Thanks guys, bye.